This committee will come to order. The committee is pleased to see that we have representatives of the BBG, including seated governors like Victor Ashe, with us today, and we look forward to working together and continuing our dialogue as we move forward with legislative reforms. The title of this hearing is Broadcasting Board of Governors, an Agency Defunct. And today we meet to discuss how best to reform the Broadcasting Board of Governors, the agency which oversees U.S. international broadcasters such as the Voice of America and such as Radio Free Asia. Our international broadcasting has a very rich history. Eastern Europeans have told us how critical Radio Free Asia was, Radio Free Europe was at the time, in clipping away at the Iron Curtain, in the ability, as Václav Havel says, to get information out, to operate as a free surrogate radio, to give the people the facts about what was actually happening on the ground in Eastern Europe that otherwise they would not have been able to obtain. And what's interesting in listening to the dialogue, the conversations about those at the time who were privy to listening to those broadcasts, is to hear their explanations about their own thought process as they began to question the totalitarian regimes that were controlling information. It indeed had a profound impact on the course of human events. It was quite an achievement with the end of the Cold War. And while the Voice of America aims to provide listeners with objective news and information about United States foreign policy, the purpose of the surrogate broadcasts, such as Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Asia, is very different. And that is to beam this information into closed societies, giving those citizens the information that otherwise they would never be able to access. Each broadcasting service is full of enterprising reporters who literally risk their lives for what they do. They risk life and limb, and I think all of us have followed stories about individual reporters who were killed in the line of getting the story in totalitarian regimes or reporting on human rights abuses. Reporters from these services really deserve to work under an organization that makes the most out of their talents. Unfortunately, more and more, it seems that the structure of international broadcasting clips their wings. Legislation in the 1990s established the Broadcasting Board of Governors as an independent federal agency responsible for all U.S. non-military international broadcasting. Today, the BBG exercises authority over 5 distinct broadcasting services, managed by a bipartisan and a part-time presidentially appointed board of 9 individuals. The board is supposed to set the priorities and overall strategic direction of the U.S. international broadcasting. It's supposed to allocate the resources and safeguard journalistic integrity. But plagued by vacancies and infighting, the BBG has trouble accomplishing any of that. In January, the State Department Inspector General depicted an agency with a dedicated staff attempting to serve, in their words, a dysfunctional structure. The BBG's, quote, dysfunction stems from a flawed legislative structure and stems from acute internal dissension. The report concludes noting that a part-time board cannot effectively supervise operations. Indeed, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton testified before the committee, and we recall her words, that the BBG is, quote, practically a defunct agency in terms of its capacity to be able to tell a message around the world, unquote. She went on to regret that, in her words, we are abdicating the ideological arena. I agree with her assessment. The stakes are very high. As we speak, Governments around the world have stepped up efforts to influence opinion abroad and to stifle dissent back at home. In Pakistan, small local radio stations broadcast messages that promote extremism and incite violence against every other minority group in Pakistan. The fight against terrorism and other threats to our national security must include a fight against bad ideas. If done well, the payoff of broadcasting is tremendous. With an information war underway, U.S. international broadcasting must be as sharp as ever. We must relearn some of the techniques, and this includes the broadcast entities themselves. The former head of Radio Free Europe once summed up their mission this way, and quote, irritate authoritarian regimes, inspire democrats, and create greater space for civil society, unquote. Our goal here is to figure out how to do more of just that, and I'll now turn to Ranking Member Engel for his opening remarks.